Yeah. There you go.
Oh my.
Yeah, they're opening their first weekend for their services at Central.
Next weekend?
This weekend.
This weekend.
Mhm. So they had an open house on Wednesday and,
Tours and everything.
yeah.
Well, it's like double the size of our performance center. How many seats is it?
So 1,800 seats.
It's over double.
Same size as the
Okay.
pavilion, but it's like more wide.
Yeah.
Which one?
Central Church.
Oh.
If you drive on 229, you can see the new
Yeah.
sign on it.
Yeah.
So,
You
yeah,
can't miss it.
I wonder, they must have got some, I know that city law has like how big the signs could be, and I'm sure they maxed it out, but,
So ours is based on frontage.
okay.
So if you've got like 200 feet of frontage, you can have enormous signs.
Oh, so-
That's all St. Paul's.
Oh, so since they added on to that front, that's how they could get it.
Depends on zone you're in too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get an email from the guy that pried me on about a sign that they're bringing in. You know, according to my calculations, we can have a 400 square foot sign. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. Neighbors probably won't be very happy. They have a sign that big.
Who's the other person? Is it Lauren?
Is Laura or Lauren? Lauren.
Is Brandon coming?
I don't know.
He said he was.
Oh, I saw him last night, he wasn't sure
Yeah.
at the moment.
I was thinking about that. I was thinking about
So we usually
that.
do that.
Oh,
Just
okay.
do it at the time.
I was in Dollar General after work and I saw him.
Oh,
and-
okay.
And he said, I don't think I'm gonna make
Oh,
it, but maybe.
Yeah, yeah, shuffle kids around.
Yeah, I think his wife's working.
I texted Laura. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard from her all the day on this, so.
Okay.
No, Brandon won't be here.
Okay, I said let's get rolling. Okay. All right, let's call this meeting in order. This is the Lenox City Council and Fire EMS Police Committee meeting. So we have representatives from the fire department tonight here with us. We will just move on to visitors to be heard. Anybody want to come up? So, okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to new business. So we have fire station expansion planning, and we have a memo with that. Tyson, you want to read all that, or you want to say it's online? Summarize it. Nate, I don't know what time you're leaving, but
I probably next 10 minutes or
Okay.
so.
Sounds
So
good.
they got a little bit of time. So.
okay.
I'll get out of here for another meeting here shortly, but there were 3 items that I wanted to make sure were on the table for discussion tonight. That was to talk through the existing quotes. It's been probably 3-4 months we talked about this. I know there was a building quote, I think there had been a concrete quote, a few other things. Yeah, I would classify those as rough estimates because I don't know that we have drawings, schematics, all that stuff laid out. So I don't know if there's a general contractor to be used that would take the bulk of the project or risk, and if not, I think just talk through that tonight. Be cautious about how much confidence you put in quotes just at this time because without those drawings and schematics, we don't have an accurate apples to apples comparison. And maybe an RFP would help us through some of that. Project management, this is something that I want to make sure we discuss tonight. First and foremost, it will be more expensive to have a professional management on a project. We know that, plan on 20% at least. And what we're talking about here is someone to manage, to do the drawings, manage the bid, manage the contract, do the project inspections, manage the warranty period, all that stuff. So what you're paying for is the confidence that everything is what you need and it's going to be done according to what you requested. Not all that dissimilar from what we're doing on our public works projects with a civil engineer. that's what we did with the band shell and museum project last year. It went well. It was our first project with, or my first project with an architect, so it was a learning experience for me in terms of the contrast between how an architecture firm handles a project versus a civil firm. It is a little bit different. But don't, I would caution, just don't go the cheap route if you think that this is gonna get you a better project. If we want, a long-lasting, fully built out, done according to the spec and building code, current ADA, all that stuff. Those are things that we have to look at when we're doing building code processes and permits. And it's not unusual for us to have a commercial type project that comes in with a building permit and they haven't taken ADA into account. They haven't taken all kinds of other stuff into account. Those are things that we have to then enforce. Then funding, that's the fun one, and I'll be out here before you talk about that, so you guys can figure that one out. We have options. We don't have, we could use second penny next year, but as the council knows, I think it's time to rebuild that for a year or two. It's not on the capital improvement plan or the replacement plan, so nothing's been formally identified, but we do have some ideas. If you want to borrow for it, I would look at the USDA Rural Facilities Program. You won't get any grants. Our income levels in town are too high to get any grants under this. But this is a bread and butter type project for USDA Community Facilities Project or Program. Sales tax bond is a possibility, but we're already using about 50% of that fund for debt service, so I'd caution against that if we are looking at a downturn in sales tax. What I want some significant discussion on is whether we should establish a new capital equipment sales tax that was permitted in this past year's legislature and signed by the governor. There'll probably be a delay in getting everything off the ground because I think we have to have a community vote on it. And you may, I think Tyson's more familiar with this than I am with webinars. You have to have a positive community vote at, I think, 60%.
Yep.
You have to establish a capital improvement board that is not comprised of the city council. They have to come up with that plan. It caps out at 5 years. You can borrow against that. I'm not sure of the logistics on that, but I did confirm that yesterday. So Tyson will probably walk through some of the requirements of that as well. He's done several webinars on this and is more familiar with it. But I think if we were to get things organized in early 27, we could probably still be looking at a next summer construction season for this, which I think is probably in the right realm of timeline, but I don't remember for sure what we were talking earlier this year. Because I think you guys were talking about maybe doing it sooner with your own funds and then replenishing that with city funds. And we'd have to see if that's a allowable use as well. So I don't know that it would qualify necessarily. So that's where I'll leave it. And it's just kind of a wide open discussion, but those are the kinds of things that we'll want to have direction on to start pulling things together. Because what were the numbers that you guys had last for the whole project? Total?
Was it probably like, I
I got it right
but
there.
it was like,
130.
Okay, so we're definitely going to have to bid this if the city builds it. There's no doubt about that. If the fire department builds it on their own, they wouldn't necessarily have to bid because you have your own 501c3. We'd simply be making that up and replenishing your reserve funds, right? That's how we would do that. So then we'd have to figure out, okay, how do we replenish those funds over the course of time?
So okay, just a question, clarification with, if the fire department pays for this expansion in addition to their building, does the city already own the fire station? And then, so how would that work would the fire department own this little annex?
Probably not. I mean, the property is owned by the city, the building's owned by the city.
And we plan to
We
pay
know
them
which
back.
trucks are city and which are rural.
Okay.
We insure everything, but I would assume it still remains a city building, even with the addition.
They're just-
I don't know how
I would
you
feel
change
that
it.
way.
Yeah.
They're just.
We can't really subdivide it
yeah.
that way.
And with it being a city-owned building, then, are there certain legality processes that we have to go through? Like, you think we can skip the RFP if the fire department's?
Well, an RFP at this point is just going to get you an apples to apples comparison of what you're looking at.
Yeah.
So if you issue an RFP today and you have 6 contractors respond to that RFP and say, this is how much this is gonna cost, then you've got an apples to apples comparison. You got a good idea of where you're gonna be. And you can go with one of those. An outside organization can, just like LADC could, right?
Yeah.
The trick here is whether or not, this is something for me to explore maybe with the city attorney, where is the line between must bid on the city property and we can have an outside organization do the work instead and we just pay it back. I think by the letter of the law, we're okay. But, there have been recent AG opinions that would seem to contradict what's been long-standing practice in bid management in the state, and so I'd be a little cautious of going down that road without an okay from somebody.
Okay. How do we want to start then? Any initial thoughts, comments, things Nate hasn't mentioned that we talked about or that fire department's talked about?
I know some of the measurements and stuff, I'm no contractor, so I know I missed some things, but I just wrote down some notes, kind of what we're looking for. Right now, there's 22 feet 6 inches between the station and the Blue Peaks building. But there is a gas meter on Blue Peaks building right there too. I would say maximum width we could go is probably 20 feet.
And that works for you?
I think that would work.
Okay.
Cause then
We should check, and we can have Mitch, have that property staked too. I don't know if there's property pins on it.
yeah.
But we should probably find those, so we have a really good idea of where we're at.
And at one point, I think the city traded Blue Peak for where the old water tower was. Blue Peak used to own that between the fire station and
Oh, really?
yeah. And I think, and good luck finding that record. But, so where the old water tower was, obviously the city owned that behind this, to the north of the station.
North and east.
Yeah.
Behind Blue Peak.
Yeah. And there was, I believe it was settled, but the city gave them that property and then
they gave
the
us
city
the
got
property
property
between.
by the station.
Hmm.
But that would need to be verified also.
I mean, it looks to me, if you look at GIS, it's pretty clear that we've got
Okay.
a fair share of that property, so. Jason's gonna pull it up here in a second.
And yeah, I would say if we could do the 20 feet, that only leaves 30 inches in between the buildings. But I do believe you want some gap there.
Well, and if we need to go further, I would imagine if we were to tell Blue Peak, hey, we'll work with you here, we'll pay to relocate your gas line, your gas service, it probably wouldn't be that big of a deal. We'd have to get Mid-American Screw in here, which is,
Yeah.
is what it is. But it can happen, so.
But I think 20 feet and the length of the station is roughly 100 feet.
Would that allow that roof line to
That's a trailer.
still work?
Correct. We'd have to go, I feel like, with 10-foot overhead doors.
Yeah,
But for what we're gonna put in there, I believe 10-foot would be fine.
would suffice.
To get a tall enough door, if I remember right, we had to excavate down.
Yeah, you gotta go down a foot.
So we're gonna have to figure something out for drainage in there.
Well, you said if we, on that, we would just go to 10 instead of 12,
Okay.
10-foot doors.
'Cause we
So
do-
then we wouldn't have to dig down.
Okay.
It'd be better for.
Well, yeah, because I suppose you could put the rural rig in there.
Yeah,
You could put the ATV in there, maybe the command vehicle.
then
Yeah.
closed trailer would fit
Yeah.
in there.
The old,
You still
the
probably
pumper
get
that
the
we'll be
pumper.
replacing, are you gonna surplus that? Or do we need to
Yes.
fit that in there as well?
No, we would be surplus.
Okay, but the new one we think will be longer.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely longer.
So, yeah, we wouldn't keep the existing.
Okay.
pump.
What's the length again, did you say?
100,
It's roughly 100 feet, the length. of
Full
the
depth of the
station.
building.
Yeah,
Okay.
100 by what, 20?
20 is what I figured.
Yeah, like the widest you can go and it's 100 long.
Do you have a couple of quotes, or is it just one person that you've worked with so far?
Just one person.
The one that I sent you. And that was based on 12
12 foot,
doors and digging down, so.
which was more concrete.
But then it wasn't quite as wide, was it?
No, 16 by 100.
So, yeah, that was the difference.
It was 60 by 80.
16 by 100 is
Oh, 16
the
by-
original, like
Okay.
what we quoted on.
Yeah.
So that 130,000, is that going with this 20 foot by 100 foot? Or is that?
That was based off a 100 by 16,
Okay.
so.
And it was
And
kind
then
of,
12, and then 12 foot doors, so digging
And
down,
digging down,
Yeah.
so maybe it's a wash.
wash, yeah.
Might be a wash.
as far as utilities on the outside, obviously, furnace, water and like airlines for just compressed air. That we could pipe over from the existing station, I would feel.
That's all overhead stuff.
Yeah. The floor drains might be a little tricky. I'm not familiar with how they can do that, but I don't really want to tear up any concrete in our existing
Right.
station if we don't have to.
Did we ever figure out where those floor drains go right now?
There's a pit and
Okay.
Yeah, right
So,
when you walk in. that
it's
big-
possible.
You gotta suck that out, or is it?
Is it just
It's
the
like
evaporate
gravity, yeah,
over time or dissipate?
yeah.
Okay.
It is
There's a lot of
hooked to
floor
the-
drains
It's,
on
yeah,
that.
it's hooked in, but,
Yep,
yeah, the level of the sediment.
I believe it's hooked into the sanitary sewer. I think, I'm not sure on that. Somebody else would have to verify that. but-
We could smoke test and we'll have a smoker here in a couple of weeks.
should check it.
We could smoke test it if somebody's gonna be around, yeah. That's the best way to verify.
I would
Cheapest
doubt
way.
it's hooked into the storm sewer. 'Cause
Oh,
when
I
that-
doubt it.
When that was built, 1973,
yeah.
four, whatever.
And we know that in that neighborhood, you know, when we did Central Basin 2 and 3, there was some corner where storm sewer was hooked in to sanitary.
Oh, okay.
So it was causing major issues all over the place, so. Yeah,
But I feel like for floor drain, they could probably bore under and tap into that same pit we're using now.
and then if we could do that and divert it
Yeah,
from sanitary to storm.
right.
We got brand new storm out there, might as well use it.
Or, yeah, maybe there's a better way of doing that
Right.
too, but I'm not familiar.
I don't think there's a good way to surface discharge it from floor drain, it's gotta go somewhere.
And, yeah, maybe divide the length in half and just do floor drains.
Mhm.
Each end, or each center of each half. If there's room, we'd like to put the overhead door on each end, which that's what we do. And then like a walk-in door on the west side. Would need it insulated, obviously, and inside the walls finished. And then electrical over there wouldn't be too technical either, just some outlets or maybe power reels from the ceiling,
Yeah.
But that's kind of what we're looking at, but
A couple of thoughts with that is that I kind of feel like some of these details we could figure out, who's the GC, what's the project management look like for that, funding, regardless of what happens, funding needs to get figured out, but And I can't remember where we talked about all this too, but like, so my thought was, if you think about 5 or 10 years or 20 years from now, is this station gonna be sufficient for what you need? Or do we say, and really, I mean, it's $130,000, but also, and I think we can pull the trigger and make that happen, and then we need to figure out details. Or do you think about down the road? I've always thought, I've seen some communities that combine their emergency services together. And do we look at ever trying to acquire the right piece of land and combine fire and ambulance? Or, I mean, there's even the police station, the fire, the EMS. Some of that stuff could be kind of reused as a residential house or whatever too, if we ever wanted to centralize our emergency services. And so I'm thinking like, not even in the 5 years kind of goal, but even beyond that, you know, what would make sense that like people 20 years from now will say, I'm so glad that they did this kind of thing. Because it really got my wheels spinning when we talked about like adding on. My first thought was, how can we get the building beside, you know, the Blue Peak building? But then I kept thinking, and I've been looking at GIS and looking at other pieces of property that the city owns, or that could potentially, we could acquire somehow by purchasing or something, or finding out some sort of agreement, and we think even a bigger thing. And so the problem is with doing something like that, it's really kicking this can down the road then too, about like, you have kind of a, I mean, you've got equipment sitting outside. It's just like, why can't, like, let's figure this out kind of thing. And then I'm also thinking through, well, what would, if the fire station would move, because we have this piece of property, it makes sense, we do that, what would we use that building for? And would we ever move grounds over there, or the streets, would they use that space or something too? Just kind of like, it creates quite a domino effect, good and bad. So it just kind of like, what do we want to bite off? What, I don't also, I'm never a fan of Band-Aids, but sometimes a Band-Aid might be the right thing to do right now too, where it's like I said, I think adding on for this amount of money, I think is really doable. It just, do we just start thinking a little bit outside of the box and think 20 years from now, what do we wish we would have done kind of thing. So granted, we can't just pull money out of thin air either, and we don't want to, you know, we look at some other capital expenses in the next 5 years, and we've got momentum happening in Lennox, and we're, you know, it's growing, but still that money just doesn't show up like this just because Lennox is growing. So I don't know if I have a preference, but I just wanted to bring that up about like, do we want to even go that route? And maybe you guys have been here a long time, so you've really thought that through about like, you know, this is really going to be sufficient for us for 20 years. So I don't know.
I mean, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but like, you know, you were centrally located in
Right.
Lennox. We've had this building since the 70s. We're, you know, now getting to the point, you know, we've had it that long.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just, and being a taxpayer, 130,000 is, you know, not that much compared, you know, all the capital improvements that need to happen, and, you know, street improvements, sewer, water, you know, all that.
Other things, yeah.
I guess that's my opinion.
Better use of
Yeah.
funds for that, and this is giving you what you would need and will be sufficient.
Yeah, I mean,
It's hard to predict how long it'll be
Right.
sufficient at, you know, at this point, but
Yeah.
I can see it. I mean, 10 years for sure, probably, but, and I feel it'll add value to that building anyway. The building's structurally sound, so.
That's what also makes it hard. It's not like a building that just needs to be condemned,
Right.
where we got to do something. So that makes the decision. Yeah, sometimes buildings just make the decision for you. You have to do it. So, and it doesn't mean we can't ever try to acquire the Blue Peak building beside us. And I think people have tried to reach out. It's just kind of when it's switched from Knology to whoever else, and then Vast and Blue Peak, it's, you don't have it's not like it's even a local company at all anymore. So So it's hard to find who you talk to there to acquire that and to make that a little bit more, yeah, it'd be nice to have that space maybe. Even if the building's not, just to be able to get that land, I don't know, so. So you really feel strongly just to be like, this is probably the best answer, what we've already put time and energy into.
Yeah, I feel that way. And I was kind of thinking, you'd say 15 years, whatever, and we do a community center that has police, fire, ambulance. Do we build it that big that we put everything we have in there? Or could we retain this building and have 3 trucks here and 3 trucks there,
Oh,
wherever that ends up,
sure.
you know?
Yeah, I guess some towns have, I know like, I drove through Sioux Center and they've got a north and a south end. They're a bigger town, they're
Right.
7,000 or whatever, but yeah,
It would be an option. I mean,
sure.
or maybe, yeah, at that point then maybe at that time, the ambulance wants to keep 2 ambulances at this station and 2 at the new building.
Whatever happens, yeah.
Whatever happens, you know.
Yeah, at least we have a good building that we're working with now.
If the building was rickety and not, you know, worth it, I don't think we'd go that.
Okay, yep.
I think it's a good point that the money spent, it's not lost, adds value to that building. If it was something that was sold, or if somebody else went in there and had the extra space, there's value to that. So doing something like that at the cost we're looking at doesn't seem crazy to me.
Yeah.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah.
And it gives them what they need now, and well, or reasonably now, you know, next year sometime. And certainly then, like I said, if we did combine things when our whole ambulance piece gets figured out, and everything else, everybody comes over, at least there's value in this building, and the money we put into it adds.
And like for me, I would rather see less money spent on the building and have nicer equipment in it,
Yeah.
better, you know.
Yep.
I think the other piece is we were talking, Mike, that the new ambulance, we need that extra space to house it, correct? So we don't really have a whole long time here to do something, right? I mean, if we just wanted to wait, we might run into not,
With your other truck you're getting.
Yeah.
With that new
Yeah.
engine,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I don't think we'd wanna hold that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I initially had the same thought that Danny did, but I know we had that tour of the station at our last community meeting, and that really solidified for me that this is probably the right path forward. And like you said, as a taxpayer, there's a lot of other things that we should be investing those funds in right now, and just being able to put your guys' equipment inside, make it last longer. I think that's what we need to accomplish here. So I'm comfortable saying that we just move forward with the expansion and
Okay.
make that work.
So I think the question is like, are we allowed to, is the fire department allowed to spend that money?
Right.
And put it up themselves and then,
And say that the city still owns it, yeah,
Yeah.
that would be my question, is the funding piece of it, yeah, and whether or not we have to go through the bidding process, or
yeah.
if we can
those are the-
bypass that since it's not city funds that we would be using.
And the fire department says it'll get done quicker if we do it. Probably, so.
Yeah, I wonder.
Which is probably true, because I mean, it's just a process when it comes through the city council and stuff, so.
Tyson, do you know if, Nate has discussed this at all with our attorney, our city attorney?
Not that I know of, no.
That might be actually what we want to recommend, is that we just get clarification about that from, Brett, and just make sure that if we go that route with them paying for it and us reimbursing, that there's no issue with, you know, ownership of the building going forward. and even just paying them back for that, you know, we don't wanna
Yeah.
get ourselves into some trouble there.
And probably getting some harder numbers. You know,
Yeah, now
some
that you
better-
kind of have nailed
Yeah.
out what you're actually looking for size and stuff, maybe just get an updated quote or a couple different quotes so that you know that you've kind of done your due diligence and,
I think, well,
And-
figuring out how wide we can go, I think would be,
yeah.
from the city
And
standpoint.
it kind of sounds like Nate said, maybe we explore them moving that gas meter if you want a couple extra feet. So I don't know if that's the city asking that or if.
I
they
think
have-
that kind of has something to do with the builder too. Whoever you guys were talking to, you know, could they make it work going out that wide?
Right.
Could
Yeah.
they make that,
Slow.
yeah, could they make that roof line?
It sounded like with a 10-foot, the slope would not be an issue. It's with if we were to do the 12, having to dig down and trying to tie into the existing
Yeah.
was the one that they were looking into.
Yeah.
But
And maybe the builder would say, well, yeah, you can go all the way to the Blue Creek building or leave a foot or, you know, whatever. That buys you a little bit extra room, you know.
Yeah, I'm not sure as far as like upkeep on the building and stuff, if you have them so tight
Yeah,
and you don't even have room to put a tin on it.
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But I would like architect or somebody to review or get blueprints or something that.
I would wanna, even if it's something that the city is able to help pay, like, just some of those, that way, you know, one of you guys isn't acting like the project manager, and I don't know, like, you know, Nate brought up the general contractor, project management, architect, like, all those things, like, I'd rather do this the right way. That seems like some more hoops to go through than to find out as the project starts and then there's a hiccup that, and an additional cost.
Something.
I'm sure there is, but if we could do as much hiring of, you know, additional services or whatever, you know, I thought, he said like, you know, it's gonna add 20% to the cost, you know, he was talking about that, and I'm okay with that because it is a city building, and you want this done right, and I mean, we hear about all the time that there's stuff happening in Lennox and building, and it seems like a no-brainer, and then they run into something, so and so depending on how and I think we have to get legal advice on how that can the fire department fund this right now, and does the city pay for some of this or something too, and then how do we replenish that over the next few years? But I would prefer that we kind of go through those extra hoops.
Have someone kind of watching over the
I think
project.
so.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I do.
I think I'd feel better about it too.
Yeah, because you guys all have full-time jobs,
Yeah.
so you can't be monitoring that during the day when you're at your other jobs, so. I
And
also,
then to make sure it's done right.
right, like you said, the building's in good condition, so we don't wanna add something to it that's going to cause structural damage to the current building either, so we wanna make sure it's tied in correctly and done right.
I mean, I think I just was joining on council, and maybe you were on P and Z for the hiring of an architect for the band shell. And I was thinking, you know, when I first heard that, I'm like, you're just doing repairs to the band shell. What's the need for that? But, you know, I think if you wanna do it right, you gotta go through those steps, so,
I thought the same thing, but it looks really good.
yeah, yeah. So,
with the project management, I mean, obviously we'd still be
involved,
involved.
yeah, I would think so, yeah.
Okay.
Pretty sure Nate stopped down at the band shell often, so, yeah.
And
So I
the
think-
museum, so, yeah.
I mean, and you still gotta be functioning in there
Yeah.
currently, and so it doesn't seem like it's gonna be that hard to, I mean,
Totally too,
yeah, it's kinda, I mean, it's not something crazy, so, but,
but yeah.
In between the existing station and the addition part, we would probably just, no doors there, but just 2 openings, you know,
Yeah.
however
Oh,
many feet
yeah.
apart.
Cut.
Yeah.
So you
To
Well,
get
no,
into
yeah.
the,
There's curved windows, there's 2 windows on that north side, I don't know if you just cut those out and make those walkways, but, yeah.
possibility there.
Right.
yeah, cause you'll have a step up, right? Is that what I'm understanding?
No, not any, if we go with the 10-foot, it will be level,
Okay,
so.
I don't think that step up would be a good idea.
yeah, I was gonna say that, you get into all kinds of weirdness there too with ADA and, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Sure.
I like the 10-foot,
Yeah,
then flat across, yeah.
and then the water issue probably too, if you dig down right there, with that building right there, how do you get rid of the water?
Mhm.
Tyson is an architect and he lives in Lenox here,
Hi.
and
Hi.
he just was
Just
interested
listening in.
in this. So Tyson, I know you're just a citizen, but you have interest in the architect side of it too. Do you have anything that's kind of spinning in your head since you're sitting here? I'd offer you a couple minutes if you have something to share.
No, I just like taking notes. I don't know, when you guys talk with contractor, I don't know who you talk to. You just kind of explain, hey, we just need a 16 by 10 expansion, is that kind of all you?
Yeah.
Send them? Yeah, just keeping, like, if you do get extra quotes and everything, making sure, hey, we need to tie into the roof, we need to, if you do, need to update your exterior to match the new one, I don't know if it's been updated since the 70s or the roof has been done since the 70s. Maybe that's something that needs to be done as well with this project.
It really does.
So that's something to think about there. So when you do tie the roof, maybe you can keep pitching that roof upwards and maybe you can get that 12-foot floor you're looking for. So,
Yeah.
The current building's steel truss.
oh, is it? That's awesome.
What we were quoted was like stick built or pole barn, not stick built.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
More like a pole barn, you know.
Yep.
And, you know, I'm originally from Bowmanville, South Dakota, West River, kid, and code doesn't matter there. As much as it maybe does here. I was just having a thought, when you get so close, let's say you wanted to get as close as you can to that Blue Peak building, the closer you get, you do have to have fire rating on each side of that wall. It can be done, just add something to think about as well. Again, with enough money, you can hire engineers for water redirection or whatever. Yeah, and I'm not sure about the public funds either, and that's something I gotta think about. If you do need to get quotes, once you start using public funds.
Right.
It's not something I
Yep.
know off the top of my head, it's an interesting concept though.
Yeah.
But if you do put out an RFP, you don't even have to accept the RFP, just see what people are quoting, but I think
Yeah.
having a good scope of work, cause so then you can really compare apples to apples.
Right.
Because someone's, oh, I didn't think about the roofing, oh, I didn't think about the drainage.
Which is kind of nice having an architect do all of that, I suppose, you know, and then you put an RFP out there, and then you got contractors bidding on the exact same thing.
Yeah, and, I don't know if you go with a contractor architect kind of team, and then they can do that together.
Yeah.
Yeah, so every contractor is really getting that apples to apples comparison, so, and then thinking about, I know you have a few offices in there, some storage, is that something you need to upgrade in that as well, with this project? So,
Yeah.
This other thing to think about, if you need me to draw the existing or just help with, you know, their scope of work to put it on a sheet, I have business cards, I'm willing to help
Okay.
with anything you guys need here.
That's good. Well, thanks for being here and
Yeah.
sharing a little, so. Okay, I think we have some more direction than we did at 7 o'clock. So, that's good. Is there anything else we need to
I think we
think
need,
through?
it looks like obviously if we just went down the list of Nate's questions, RFP quotes, yes. Project management, yes. How we'd like to pay for it, even paying back, if in fact we're allowed to do that. Some of the options you listed here, I would have one question on the capital equipment sales tax piece that maybe you
Yeah.
can answer, Tyson. What's the scope of that? Like, what all would fit into capital equipment? So we talked about it for our equipment replacement
We got a whole.
process for the city, taking a look at that. Now we're talking about it for this, taking a look at that. What all fits?
A whole lot of stuff. The
Buildings
the broad terms they give you are basically like any sort of real property, whether it's like real estate or like parks, EMS facilities, community centers, libraries, stadiums, childcare centers. It's a pretty wide range. So if we were to use like the CAPS bill, you could fit in this, and that'd be a small portion of it. And you can even fit in like the fire truck, the new fire truck that you guys are looking at as well as maybe like something with like the parks master plan or something over the course of the next 5 years. It's like it needs a 60% vote to pass. We'd have to hold a special election sometime early next year, or maybe even later this year.
I was just saying, because we can't make the November election at this point, right? So we would have to,
It has to be after the general election. I'm not sure if we could do it in like December or something, but
that might not be the best idea with the holidays getting voter turnout.
yeah. But it's basically a 1% sales tax, which is equivalent to what our second penny is. So I can kind of like project a little bit of what we might be able to get in. I've kind of been having a spreadsheet for like our asset replacement plan. And the second penny sales tax is looking to get like 3.3 million over the next 5 years, which would probably be the cap of what we could do. And kind of getting the most bang for your buck out of that
Yeah.
would be the goal.
Yeah.
So including fire.
Because it's a 5-year limit, right?
Yeah, 5-year limit, and you can't
Okay.
use it for a minimum of 2 years afterwards. So once the 5 years hit, you can't use it for the following 2 years, basically to prevent it from being a permanent sales tax.
Sure.
Okay.
And the money can only be used for the specific projects you like laid out for it. You have to have a committee which has one of the governing body members, so one of the council members, as well as 4 citizens of the town, all appointed by the mayor.
Mm.
And you kind of have to have like the scope of every project you want to get done, so you'd have to list out everything and the approximate costs for everything, and once that minimum is hit, that would cover every cost, is when the sales tax ends. It's like the next 31st of the end of the month that it hits it.
So it doesn't have to, like, I know you're saying it has to be something specific, but if, say, we needed to pay for a new patrol car and something for FD, we could do them both so long as it's outlaid in the bill when the voters vote on it.
Yes.
So the whole works has to be laid out for the vote.
Yep.
The vote can't just be there to say, yes, we support the 1%, we know it'll get spent wisely. It all has to be black and white.
All has to be black and white.
Got it.
Okay.
So I guess I can go through the steps if you really are feeling it.
I remember talking about it earlier. I'm okay with it if
Yeah, I'm
somebody
good.
else wants to hear about it.
No, I'm good now.
So that funding piece, we need to get some legal direction on that, too, but, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that's something that you said the fire department would be willing to fund up front. This building currently at that bid price. Or not?
There would be an option.
Okay, so it's
I
not.
would have, we'd have to vote on that, so.
Sure, but it could be an
Yes.
option, okay.
I think to keep that price where you think it, or where you have it, is probably the best option. I mean,
Mhm.
that's a pretty good amount for what you're getting.
Yeah,
Um, And if you went another route, I don't know if you to hit that number. So I'm not sure.
No.
I suppose it depends on how bad the contractor wants it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But then, is that the right contractor?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So I think we need to have kind of like what's the next step? What are some action steps? What's the next step we need to have happen?
I think our
Talk
big,
to legal.
yeah, I was like, that's our
Yeah.
biggest hurdle right now, is just understanding the legality of the funding. I also wanna circle back to something that Nate said about the drainage. I do think since we're gonna have smoke tests here in town, if somebody's around from FD that can accompany someone just to do a smoke test on the station. Being as we're pretty adamant with our citizens about not putting their stuff into the sanitary, we need to make sure that our buildings aren't doing that
Yeah.
too, so.
Yeah, I would agree.
So do we need to put out an RF, after we get some legal advice on that funding, we have at least kind of, I mean, that's what we have to figure out, but do we put an RFP out, similar like the band shell? Because was that an architect contractor combo, or was that just architect?
What I remember is it was an architect, solicitation. So
Okay.
looking for an architect, and the architect evaluated it, designed it,
Yep,
put it out for bids for contractors, if
Okay.
I remember correctly.
I think, yeah, that sounds right, okay. Yep, and so I don't know if we wanna do that same process, I would ask Nate on some advice
I
on
think that
that.
probably is kind of contingent on the funding though too.
Okay. And then after that, we can kind of go from there
Yeah.
too, so, but also to hire those extra general contractor, project manager, still be involved, so, yeah.
I was just seeing actually how wide we could go.
Yep,
Yeah.
That would be the other, I think that'd be.
Well, we
number
could
I
have-
think we could have, he said, didn't
Let's
say
stake it.
Stockwell could come
Yeah.
out and stake it for us
Yeah.
regardless, so maybe we
Yeah.
have him contact Stockwell to do that.
okay,
When you had the builder come out, or whoever gave you the number for the structure, I mean, did they just kind of throw it? Or did they come out and measure and?
It came out and measured.
Looked and they said, okay, we can give you 16, at the time it was 16 wide, and all this will tie in like this, and they were very confident about tying everything in.
Cause then when we talked about going like going to 12-foot doors like the main two, then we had to, to get the right pitch, it's like, well, you'd have to open it up, tie in, dig down to get that 12 with the right pitch, but 10, there was not an issue.
Yeah. And then concrete, was that 6 inches thick,
Pretty sure, yeah, it was,
most likely?
do you have it? I think that was brought up, and we did ask, and it was, actually, I think it was pretty thick.
Cause I do believe we work that 6.
What's the minimum that you'd have to have for that kind of weight?
I would say at least 6 inches, especially for fire trucks.
Okay.
Pretty heavy. I wouldn't want anything below that.
And the current floor, I'm not sure what it is, but it's held up great, so.
Yeah,
But I would say, it needs to be at least 6.
yeah.
And
Was there rebar?
I'm just trying to find it.
Concrete was 5, so, I mean, add maybe a smidge more.
Okay.
Yeah. So give or take 10,000
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
Short, well, yeah, 110 and then.
I guess right now, we currently know what we're looking for, but we don't know how to build it, or what's the proper way to do it. so.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys want to touch base with
We
your
can,
guys
yeah,
and say, well, we're looking at,
get more specific
yeah,
things, yeah.
maybe find out how wide. I do like the idea of keeping a kind of a little breezeway in between there, just like
Yeah.
you said. In case you do poke a hole in some metal or something like that, and you
Yeah.
can easily, you're not wiggling over there and trying to replace a chunk of metal.
And I thought about snow too, I don't know if that'd be an issue in between, you get 30 inches in between there. It
And
should,
the top
Yeah.
these two buildings, a couple winters,
Hmm.
when we've had some ice dams and Nate's gotten water in there.
Oh.
I had a crew up on top of this building and
Okay.
getting snow out
yeah,
from between, and it's not very fun.
I believe that, I believe that.
So,
Okay. Anybody else? Otherwise, we'll kind of get this rolling. The process.
We'll try to get some more specific bids,
yeah,
at least get a little better idea where we're at.
right.
Okay, nothing else? And this meeting's adjourned. So, thank you.
With money was how much was?
30 inches in, yeah.
Okay, so approximately
Is-
16, if you get a little space.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, if you need.
I don't know that.
Okay, yep, okay, thanks,
I
Tyson.
mean, you probably- Some,
Thanks, guys.
I think this